Thanks for tuning in to our 5th union update. This is for the week of Monday, May 11th. I'm your host and chapter president, Jana Blunt. Let's start the show. We've got a nice agenda, including how to receive quicker updates, what we need from you. It will take less than a minute of your time. And my upcoming lunchtime worksite meeting. Spoiler alert, you are invited. A big HR meeting roundup, which is going to include the Fairgrounds Layoffs, and then budget and staffing information, including whether or not the county thinks they'll be tapping into their $43 million reserve, what they said when we asked them about whether or not they're going to do a hiring freeze or institute mandatory time off, including furloughs, whether they'll offer voluntary retirement with or without incentives, and then an update on the Meet and Confer. Then a warning about our vacation accrual cap, and then we'll close out with what you need to know about privacy on your personal devices in these days of teleworking. You're watching this, so you're already plugging in via one of these traditional methods. It's fabulous. In addition to these, I'm offering personal direct updates. We've had a lot of folks sign up for these already. The purpose for these will be to share information on a more instantaneous basis if it's ever necessary. The communication will come from me personally. It's not co-opted by the union or the county. You'll be added to my personal email updates, and if there's anything urgent, text blasts. Official email blasts require clearance through several channels, which is typically no big deal, but occasionally important things need to be shared outside of work hours. I've found this type of thing comes in handy during actions like demonstrations or strikes. So it's up to you. If for any reason you or anyone you know have maxed out on your vacation accrual, which is 280 hours, unless you're a supervisor, in which you can max out at 360, and you're being denied vacation time, please let us know. We'll add you to an all-affected grievance that we're writing. Let us know if you're working in a department with a customer counter that doesn't yet contain a physical barrier, especially if you know that your department management has no plans to install one before you're open again to the public. If your department is facing any unique safety problems once the building is occupied again, obviously all of our departments are going to be subject to whatever the general public health order requirements are in place when we start opening back up to the public, things like wearing face coverings, maintaining a physical distance, practicing increased hygiene, blah, blah, blah. And then of course, each department has their own situations, like Parks Department they've got to maintain public restrooms. Those have sharps and needles at times. Social workers have home visits, the jail has confined interview rooms, and so on. But if you know that there may be some sort of increased vulnerability unique to your work site that may be overlooked, please reach out. We've got time to work on it. And then lastly, if you have any suggestions in terms of better forms of communication from the union to our members, this one's pretty self-explanatory. So this is one of the things that we need from you. Sonoma County Crisis is a cooperative, and as you can see, there's a lot of members in the coalition so far. Essentially, what's been put together is a three-pronged platform directed at our local government leaders, like the city and the county, essentially stating that all of our residents have the right for our basic needs to be met, everyone has the right to a home, and everyone has the right to be safe and protected. A decent amount of progress is already being made, but we still need you to sign on and support. It takes less than a minute. Please go to SoCo, unitedincrisis.org to view the full platform and sign your name and support. All of the links that I talk about on this video will be in the video description. And then lastly, on what we need from you, the change.org petition by HPEACE. HPEACE stands for Health Professionals for Equality and Community Empowerment. This group is made up of Sonoma County doctors, nurses, and other health professionals. Here's what's going on. Both Stanford University and Cal OSHA recommend that healthcare workers who are treating COVID-19 patients should wear N95 masks at all times. Pretty straightforward. And of the 3 major hospitals in our county, Sutter and Memorial are meeting this standard as of late. Unfortunately, Kaiser Santa Rosa Hospital is not providing N95 masks for their workers who are caring for COVID-19 patients. nor their workers who are treating patients who are suspected of having COVID-19. These lax policies are probably in place to save money, but they are obviously going to increase the risk to the healthcare workers, which also increases the potential for the workers themselves to be vectors of the disease, spreading it to unaffected patients and other people in the community. So what HPEACE has done is they've reached out to our public health officer, Dr. Mays, to institute a public health order requiring all healthcare facilities in Sonoma County follow the Stanford University Protocol or Cal OSHA recommendations. Please sign your name if you agree that we should hold our health officer and our providers accountable for protecting our healthcare workers, which by extension enhances the protection of each of us. The petition link is in the video description. Time is of the essence. And we've already got some good feedback and some back and forth. There was an article in the Press Democrat about this petition. Check it out and please sign on. All right, for obvious reasons, it's been a while since any of our stewards and leaders have been able to hold much of a worksite meeting. Let's change that. A week from this Wednesday, I'll be holding a lunchtime worksite meeting on Zoom that all of you are invited to join. It's going to be Wednesday the 20th from noon to 1. I'll make sure that SEIU sends out an email that contains the invitation link. Hopefully it'll go out this Monday, and then we'll follow it up with a second reminder as well. Come through and join us to listen, ask questions, or share news about your worksite. So we just met with HR last Thursday. We've got a meeting coming up with them this Thursday and then the following Thursday, so the 14th and the 21st. And as you can see, we've been doing things. We'll go ahead and start with the fairgrounds. So just to recap on the fairgrounds layoffs, there are 15 fair employees in SEIU's bargaining unit. The remaining employees are in what they call Local 39. That's the International Union of Operating Engineers, or IUOE. Those folks are typically heavy equipment operators and stationary engineers. And you probably already know this from the last video, the Sonoma County Fair was canceled this year. And the unfortunate part about that is that its revenue directly funds our fairgrounds employees' salaries. So we know layoffs are going to be coming, and I'll get back to what we're asking from the county when it comes to information. So we did learn a little bit more about how the fair works and how its budget works. The Sonoma County Fair and Exposition, or SCF&E, they're essentially a nonprofit organization. They act as an agent of the County of Sonoma to conduct the county fair and other events. The fair has its own board of directors, and they oversee the operations. And unlike any of the other departments in the county, they use a calendar year budget, which is obviously going to be different than the typical fiscal year. Their budget's adopted by the County Fair Board of Directors in the fall of each year. And then it's subsequently adopted based on the Fair Board's recommendation by the Board of Supervisors in January. So it's significantly different. Their budget process is not going to be part of the county's fiscal year budget process. So as such, it's not going to be part of the county budget discussions that are expected in June or September. More about that circling back in just a bit. We sent Human Resources a very long RFI, also known as a request for information. We just wanted to show this to you briefly so you knew what was going on and that we are working. And we know some stuff so far. We know that they're not going to lay off everyone at the fair, but we know someone will be. We just don't know who. The decisions just haven't been made. We know that at least one member so far is getting on a transfer list. Hopefully more will do that as well. It's always important in situations like these that the potentially affected employees will open up all possible routes to them just so they have escape routes. The list of classifications and the specific number of employees who will be impacted is going to be shared as soon as HR receives it, but it's still being determined at the county fair board level. It'll be shared as soon as it's available. So more on that in a bit. So these are some of the things that we've seen in the past, namely the 2008 financial crisis. We've seen hiring freezes, we've seen furloughs, we've seen offers for voluntary retirement. And we also want to know, hey, there's this huge reserve, there's this quote unquote rainy day fund. Will you be dipping into it if you have to before you decide to lay anyone off? So we got answers to all of these. The county's blah, 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 monitoring their budgetary impacts. People are probably seeing a lot of cities who are very concerned about budgetary and fiscal impacts. And that's because cities are very sales tax driven. And so as they see businesses closing, it's going to impact them when it comes to their sales tax dollars. Really sucks for them. Thankfully for us, the county is different. We're more property tax driven. So it's far too early to be able to assess whether there's going to be impacts from this public health emergency on property tax collection, whether there's going to be foreclosures or whether people will fail to pay their property taxes. We just don't know yet. It's too soon. There's been some high-level discussion, though, some surface-level discussion at the county about whether or not we're going to institute hiring freezes specifically. There are still no plans at this point in time to do that, and there's no serious thought that there's going to need to happen at any point in time. So that's where they're at right now. They don't see it coming down the pike at all. But as to how budgetary notifications and processes do occur, it's essentially going to be a two-step process. The recommended budget is going to be posted on May 15th. That's the date that they're targeting right now, and that's this week. And then the board's going to be reviewing the recommended budget sometime in June. We don't know whether there's going to be budget presentations like there have been in the past years, and we don't expect to see actions regarding filled allocations at that time in June. If allocations that are filled are slated for deletion as a result of that process, then we'd start planning for layoffs and anticipate that that would start to happen in October. If vacancies were deleted, that obviously wouldn't result in layoffs. But again, if after the budget's adopted in early September, then it'll probably be due to allocations having been looked at in August and then October for the actual layoffs themselves. So if vacancies were deleted, that obviously isn't going to result in layoffs, but if these are filled positions, then that's how it's going to happen. All that said, while they haven't instituted a hiring freeze, departments know what's going on, and they may choose to either not fill their positions or just fill them more slowly out of caution. Departments will manage their own budgets, not with layoffs at this point, but each department is going to be responsible for deciding how to manage their own vacancies. Outside of the fairgrounds, we're not thinking that there's going to be any layoffs before October. It's no blanket guarantee, as something can shift or change, but that's how it's looking right now. And then once HR gets the dates for the June budget meetings, which they're not going to happen when we thought they were with everything happening via Zoom now, they'll share them with us. But here's just this quick roundup of the main budget, the top four, placed against the fairgrounds budget. Although the fairgrounds budget is approved and put into place later on, their layoffs will be happening sooner. Layoffs for everyone else would begin in October, if and when. So quick meet and confer status roundup. This is good stuff, guys. Just as a reminder why this matters, the way that we communicate with HR when we have demands is governed by law, which is a good thing. There's a bunch of different laws we have to adhere to. Right now, we've been all the way up until this point in the meet and discuss mode. It's just informal conversations. It's not the same as the meet and confer mode, which is formal and more akin to bargaining. So the county has had the ability to remain informal because of this emergency, and we've been patient. They are dealing with a lot, and so we've been giving them the time that they've been asking for, because once we get to that meet and confer stage, everyone's required to remain open-minded. You have to be sincere. You can't put stuff off. You've got to focus on the agreement itself. If for any reason either side decided not to do any of those things, it could result in what they call a ULP, or an unfair labor practice. That's not good. That's the type of stuff that leads to actions, and nobody's going to want that. Great news, the county is finally giving us a date. They're willing to begin this week. And so our first official meet and confer is going to begin this Thursday, May 14th. Absolutely wonderful. We are scrambling, trying to make sure that everything's officially presented. They're fully aware of most of what we're demanding already, but again, this is the official and formal step, and we have to come to some sort of agreement. So there's going to be compromise. And again, compromise is better than just discussing. So I'm very excited. And I want to thank everyone for their patience. So just as a recap, we just met with them last Thursday. That's the information that I provided to you. We're going to be meeting with them again this Thursday. That'll be our first meet and confer on the 14th. And then we have another one scheduled for next Thursday, the 21st. I don't believe we have anything scheduled after that, but hopefully we will. All right. I know I'm just really beating a dead horse on this vacation accrual cap thing, but I want to give you the numbers. In our bargaining unit alone, we have 61 employees who have maxed out on their vacation accrual caps. This means that they are not accruing vacation hours. They're just getting thrown away, dissolved. So until those people start to take vacation time, they're not going to get any more vacation hours. They're losing money. They're losing time. Just as bad, in my opinion, folks who are within 10 hours of that maximum, that's 68 more people. And again, this is just our bargaining unit. So putting those together, we have nearly 130 people who have already lost or they're just about to lose their accruals. Please, 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 please go on vacation. It's obviously not going to be much of one, but you can figure it out. Just take it. Again, if for some reason you or anyone you know has met their cap and you're being denied vacation requests, please let us know ASAP. HR wants to know because they're talking to the department management in order for this to get cleared up, because nobody wants a grievance and we're going down that route. So please let us know whose names we need to add to this list. And hopefully there are none. All right, we're already to our grand finale here. So when it comes to privacy on our personal devices, are our personal computers and cell phones, are they subject to search by the county in the event of a public records request? The answer is yes, but it's conditional. Only if an employee downloads work materials onto their personal device. So if you've never done it, you really should check out the administrative policy manual. We're all subject to it. We all signed yes to it when we came on to the county. It applies to everyone. It's outside of union contracts. It's just a blanket policy for anyone employed by the County of Sonoma. It's very typical verbiage, pretty boilerplate stuff. And if you want to know more about the computer use policy, it's section 9. I believe it's the last section. So keep your pants on. It's pretty cut and dried and pretty easy to avoid. So the policy itself, there's just an abstract from there that says users, that's you and I, anybody, should be aware that the county as a whole retains ownership of its own data, even if it's created or stored on our personally owned devices. So employees, you and I, were permitted to view but not store or download confidential or restricted data on our personally owned devices. So for those of us who are able to telework right now, most of us are doing so by connecting our workstation to our workstations with a county VPN, virtual private network, essentially kind of plugging into our computer at our desk at work. We connect to the VPN, then we remotely log on to our workstation. And when you're connected to your workstation from home through remote login, there's no way to save any materials to your personal computer. But there's a handful of teleworkers who do manage to be able to work without the VPN connection. And really this applies to all of us because we still have things like the opportunity to log into Outlook remotely to check email, for example. Or you might have been given access to a shared private Google Drive, like some workers at the EOC who record call logs. Or maybe your department utilizes a database that allows for online login from any location without having to log into your office's workstation. No big deal. In cases like these, we can open applications, but the materials and the data itself are not stored on our computer. When we close the internet browser or log out of the database, our access to the work materials is closed. However, while we're accessing our inboxes, our drives, or other applications, we have the ability often to download or save materials to our personal devices, documents, spreadsheets, PDFs, email attachments, and that's the crucial line to cross. Not only are you disobeying the computer use policy in the county's administrative policy manual, but your device is now potentially subject to search. And thankfully, this is an extremely easy fix. If you were ever to inadvertently save work materials to your personal device, I've done it many times, you just permanently delete them. If there's any concern that you're going to lose the item and it's been changed or altered or updated in some way, just email it to your work email address first and then delete the item. Same is going to go for cell phones. Folks who are working at the EOC are using the Jabber app to take calls. The app itself is saved to your phone for access, but the call information and other data is stored at the county. So if there was a public records request, an employee could be asked whether they saved anything outside of their county machine. And so long as they say no, there's no exposure. If they say yes, there's exposure. You are not subject to any public records requests or subpoenas if you make it a point to never house any work materials on your personal machines. Nice and simple. All right, you got through it, not so bad. Make sure, please, that you check out the video description. To sign up for quicker updates and sign on in support, please take the 30 seconds to sign your name to the SoCo United in Crisis, as well as HPEACE's petitions. Really, really appreciate it. And then again, let us know if any of these 4 scenarios apply to you or anyone you know. We really do appreciate the feedback and appreciate your patience in us getting back to you. It's kind of a crazy time right now. But again, we appreciate that you're watching, and I hope to see all of you at our next Worksite meeting on Zoom. It's going to be a week from this Wednesday. Have a great week, guys.